This podcast features adult content not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. You have been warned.
Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klaus. Let's get started.
If there's anybody in our friends group that you can tell me.
I don't think the stars would shine so bright if just one of you were not here.
My name is Ezekiel and Ellory, at your service.
You have my sword.
You're the only person who makes me want to be better than I am.
And my axe.
I wasn't strong enough or fast enough or, I don't know, clever enough. I didn't have it in me to stop what happened.
We haven't done this before. Does that make us professional?
That would make you amateurs at best.
And if those do not help their people survive, they're cut from the pack.
You wake up from this daydream, from this nightmare. Half memory, half dream.
There's more out there to find, and there's more moments for having.
I'll find a way to be stronger next time.
I don't know fuck all about what's right.
Everyone who has ever loved you was wrong.
You can do better.
I know. I have to.
How do you want to do this? Previously, after finding Orsissus' rest empty, the Bronze-Scales found a place to rest within the nearby tree line with cover from the spying hawks above. During rest, Ezekiel smelled two scents, a rotting scent and that of blood. The next day, the group traveled northeast towards the smell of rot, finding the ruins of a lighthouse. Investigating further, they found it to be the lair of a corrupted cobra with the dark horns and green eyes of the Valgrith and the Valgrith. The creature's enthralling eyes made fighting difficult, but the group persevered, killing the massive cobra and its surrounding brood. After cutting off the large horns, the group rested, some finding a bit of leftover ancient gear, and a stone altar to the Soul. We pick up here. It's a bit after noon. With the sun pushing through the overcast clouds, the wind whistling through the nearby pines, the sound of the waves stirring the salt air below. You're in the second floor of the clearly ancient lighthouse ruin and are just finishing up your rest, deciding where to go and what to do next. How do you proceed?
Kalvyn, did I hear them correctly that you're following Valgrith?
Yeah.
Maybe when we get back, you should go talk to Diaro. She's a paladin of his. Or follower.
Okay. I did not know that.
She might have some insights for you.
Cool beans.
Anyway, what's next, my newfound friends?
It's a terribly good question.
Well, I would imagine
I can't be the one to motivate you today, because I'm not feeling great, and y'all need to sort this out on your own. I'm gonna be muted now.
What I was going to say was that I suspect at this point we might have enough proof of our excursion out here that we might be able to pay for the boat along with a little bit of extra money. Now the question is, do we want to do anything else while we're out here? And I believe we have about 3 days, 4 days, possibly, before the boat leaves.
I'd like to know exactly what happened to Orsissus.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And I, personally, am a little uncomfortable with this, creature that seems to be corrupting the wilds of your area.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure everyone is.
It's been here for a very long time from everything we've been able to hear, but I don't disagree.
And according to your legends, whoever defeats it becomes it, unless, if Kalvyn is right, it eats their heart. Well, they eat its heart, however it goes.
Yeah, the only verification that we have of that is Kalvyn and his words, so other than that, we have no idea if that's actually going to do it, but at least it's better than nothing.
I understand your hesitation.
Yeah. It's an ancient legend. Well, it's not necessarily a legend, it's true. It's an ancient being. It's a mighty hunter, a mighty beast, and in our small kerfuffle with it a few years ago, that was quite possibly one of the scariest things we've ever been a part of.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But you've grown so much since then. Things also always look bigger when we're children. Look,
I'm actually shorter now than I was then, so technically, it probably looks bigger to me now.
Kind of cocks his head to his side at you.
It
doesn't comment.
Something that we don't necessarily understand either. I mean, if we're going to do anything about it, I would suggest that maybe we camp somewhere, hunt it tomorrow, so that we are at our full capacity in terms of what we can do. We spent some of our energy, some of our resources today fighting the Cobra. If we're going to be looking for a fight with the Valgrith, I think we all prefer to have everything available to us.
Absolutely. I may know someone that might know something. She does not always come reliably when I call her, but she, as far as I can tell, is as ancient as everything herself. I can see if she knows anything about this, or, well, if she'll even answer. She's usually disappointed in me for something. But if we have a friend who has been with me my whole life, she's hard to explain. Think of her as a guardian angel of sorts. If a guardian angel gave you impossible tasks and was constantly unfulfilled when you complete them. But she is knowledgeable, so if this creature has been around for as long as you say, she may have heard something. But if we have a place to camp, I can try and go somewhere quiet, see if she'll respond.
Does she have a name?
I'm not 100% on the pronunciation, but Offlot? Great, I'll take that. Offlot.
Right. Certain she can help us.
Absolutely not, but it's worth a try. She's the oldest thing I know. Well, shall we find a good place to camp? Maybe see if we can scout out an area we might want to... I don't know how you lure this creature, but perhaps we can come up with something.
Well, I suspect it knows that we're out here. Somewhere, anyway. There was that bird when we were camping.
If there's birds in a swarm, I wonder if the Valgrith are some kind of, I don't know, hive mind. Seems maybe not precisely that, but...
It could be. I mean, it must have some connection to them. I could assume. It may know that something is hunting quite a few of them. There was that cave by your dragon friend. Is it... I know we didn't check out that other one. Is that something that we want to do today? We have a lot of daylight left.
At least a few of us getting up and down that cliff is a bit of an excursion.
Well, I can ferry everyone but Bál.
I can give him spider climb.
Well, shall we make our way there then?
Might be a good place to make camp here.
How long of a trek is that? Will we make it there before dusk?
Yeah, you should be able to. It's not too far from where you are. It's a solid 5 or so hours. You'd still have a few hours of daylight left.
All right.
Okay. So is that what y'all do? You'll go south?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're kind of at this lighthouse down here, and the lighthouse is above the ocean, but not nearly as high as the cliffs are where Orsissus' rest is. And to the north, you can kind of see that loose depiction I've drawn where it goes back up once again, and there's sort of a cliff overhanging the ocean. But turning around and leaving that, you head south. It's a few hours' journey. Travel goes by quickly during the day. The sounds of seagulls or sea eagles of some sort call every now and then, but pretty easy journey as you eventually, a few hours later, make it down to the cliffs. As you do approach the cliffs, everyone give me a perception check.
10.
No, 19.
All right, so Ellory, Vesper, and Kalvyn, you're the first to notice this. As you're heading to the cliffs, you see something you didn't notice when it was dark. You can see color, dark color all along the sides of the cliffs, like as if it has been rusted. As you get closer, you can start to see a hint of color to it, dark crimson. The rest of you, as you do get within 160 feet or so, you can start to see it as well. The cliffside surrounding where Orsissus' area is covered in discoloration of some sort.
That's odd. And not very comforting. Any idea what that is?
Color could be blood.
Can we get close enough to get a sample?
Yeah, y'all can. As you'll kind of get to where the cliff is, you can kind of, there's places where it's thicker than others, and it's mostly located at the top of the cliff. You can kind of lean over the side of the cliff, reach your hand down, and kind of scrape some off. It's dark, blackish color, blackish brown at this point.
Like sniff? Does it smell iron?
Yeah. It doesn't take too long for all of you to kind of realize what it is. It's fun.
How fresh is it?
Survival check.
What, medicine?
Yeah, I'll say you can do a medicine check.
Oh, great. Well, that was garbage. That's an 11.
11? Hard to say. At least a couple days. A couple days to a week, you're not sure. There's still, it's like spilt Coke from a few days ago. Like there's still remnants of viscosity, but it's mostly dried out by now.
When last time Bál did detect poison and disease on one of the Valgrith, was he able to kind of sense some kind of impurity from it?
Bál didn't detect that it was diseased or poisoned, but he did detect poison. Similar to where you would detect poison on a poison snake.
So Bál's going to use his detect poison and disease and try to use it on the blood and see if he can get a sense of, maybe at least whose blood it isn't.
Doing that, it doesn't seem to be diseased or poisoned.
I think I'll share that with the group.
Actually, Bál, give me a survival check as you're doing this.
It's a big 8.
Okay. Yeah, doesn't seem to be poisoned or diseased.
As I said, the Valgriths were poisoned and deceased.
To clarify, Bál, the blood didn't seem poisoned or diseased for the Valgrith either. But you could detect there were elements of poison. So like a poisonous snake, you wouldn't detect that it is poison, but there is poison present. But you don't detect either of that here.
Okay, so then I'll share that, and basically, that I don't think it's Valgrith blood.
And how far away are we now from that cave?
The cave in the side of the cliff?
Yeah.
You're essentially right above it, so I drew a little map here.
Oh, okay.
The whole cliff is about 400 feet from top to where it meets sea level. About 100 feet down from the edge is where the cave is. And so the cave is about 300 feet from the water.
Well, something was attacked here recently. Stick to the plan, go inside?
Yeah, let's be careful in case there's anything in there.
Yeah, we can go quietly. At least I'll try. Well, I will Before we go in there, cast Pass Without Trace. So that'll give us plus 10 to stealth, and then I will go Giant Spider. And whoever wants to hop on first can get onto my back.
I'll go.
So you'll get me stealth checks. Plus 10.
Natural 20.
30 something.
Yeah, 33.
And Spider form.
Sorry, I had to find that sheet.
36, okay. Alright, so you hop on. Do you turn into the normal kind of long-legged spider creature?
Yeah, the regular giant spider.
Okay. Turning into that, Vesper, you hop on, grabbing onto it. You climb down the 100 feet and kind of circle and climb in. And now that it's daytime and you can see the color that you couldn't see at night, you can kind of really notice the stickiness that you didn't notice before of the drying blood. Entering into the cave, looking around, you immediately see to the right a pile of scattered weapons. Metal, it looks like it's been melted together, a lot of it. You see numerous bones of various sized creatures, some big, some smaller. And you see a lot of blood in here as well. You're just looking around. The cave is maybe 30 feet in width and then goes back maybe 40, 45 feet or so.
And I don't see anything moving in the cave?
Make a perception check.
Yeah, and I'm also going to try. It's a dirty 20.
That's also it's 24. I need to update all my animals after level 5.
Okay. Looking around, you don't see any movement. You can see blood spattered on the ceiling as well as you're looking around, and you see marks along the walls. You see the rock has been cracked as if hit with a great deal of force. You see burn marks, maybe, like lines of burn marks that scatter like a tree almost along some of the walls. You see a few rocks that look like they fell from the ceiling, where parts of the ceilings have collapsed towards the back.
I'll just kind of snap my pincers at Vesper.
Go and get one of the half-elves that can see in the dark. Or Kalvyn.
Alright, scuttle up.
Okay. Are you all gonna essentially ferry everyone, or just Kalvyn or Ellory at this point?
It's not that big, so probably I'll go get Amson and maybe one more, and then let whoever's down there start looking around.
Okay.
I was going to wait till last so that I could cast Spider Climb on Ball at the last minute, give as much time as possible.
I'll go then.
Yeah, you'll go down, or you'll be stealthy, or just moving down.
I'll continue to try and be quiet.
Okay. Yeah, okay. You don't have to re-roll. Y'all are fairly quiet, and Amson, you're essentially riding him. Speed, moves silently, moves back in, unloads you into the cave.
Looks like a war zone in here.
There's some gold.
Can I investigate the amalgamation of melted metal?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead and roll an investigation check.
That is a 14.
Okay. Looking over, immediately none of the metals look precious. Looks like mostly iron, actually. The weapons look pretty simple. A lot of clubs, maces. There's a few, looks like the remnants of spears of some sort, and a few scimitars. The metal seems simple. There's not much left to really tell where they were made, and none of them are really nice enough weapons to have markings. And they're mostly blunted or destroyed at this point.
Okay. Is this cave just like this one room, or does it go back further?
Y'all all looking around the edges, it looks like it's basically this one room. As you get towards the back, where there's less blood, you can see claw marks as if it's been dug out almost.
It doesn't look to be like very much here.
Can I look around for scales or sign of any creature that was here?
Yeah, survival. Yeah. So searching around, you find a few scales, metal, sort of that metallic, shining, brownish metal. It's covered mostly, but you can wipe it off. You find a few of those, pretty large, almost the size of a plate. You find patches of fur, black, coarse, almost dreadlocked together. And you find, with a 19, you find bits of what look like almost leathery. It's like a dark crimson-y color. And you also find tiny scales, about the size of a quarter, that almost have like a dark greenish sheen to it. Very much different from the large bronze ones.
I'll just kind of push them towards everybody else, because I can't talk right now.
I'll also say, in finding them, a lot of them have like claw marks and wound marks and bent and cracked in various places. It's clear these were not shed, but came off during a conflict of some sort. The rest of y'all down there see this giant spider kind of push forth a pile of various creature bits.
I'll, pick up a few of them and kind of look at them and flip them back and forth in my hands, looking at them. Well, I guess we have evidence that Orsissus and the Valgrith definitely had a tussle down here.
Right. I wonder if there's a winner or...
Don't know. And I'll pick up one of the small, green scales. Does Orsissus have these? Or does the Valgrith have these, or what?
I didn't get a close enough look at the Valgrith. I know some of Orsissus' scales were almost oxidized looking.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe if they did have a fight, and there was no winner, that means the Valgrith is also wounded out there somewhere. It makes our job easier.
Possibly. If it hasn't recovered in the last however long it's been since this fight broke out.
Or worst case scenario, Orsissus won and became the Valgrith.
Yeah, let's hope that didn't happen.
I sincerely hope that didn't happen.
I barely want to deal with the Valgrith. I never wanted to have to fight Orsissus. I do not want to have to fight them both. Do you think we can find anything else down here?
If we get maybe one of the stronger ones down here, maybe we can move some of the rocks and see if there's anything beneath them.
Yeah, probably.
I'll go get Kalvyn, just so I can carry him.
Yeah. You can bring Kalvyn down there.
I'm gonna look under the rocks and see if there's if it looks like maybe they fell on something at all. If there's any fur under them or blood under them.
Okay. Give me an investigation check.
I would like to assist.
Thank
with
you.
advantage.
Fuck. Yeah, it's an 11.
Lifting some of the rocks that you're able to lift. Nothing that you didn't see before. A few extra tufts of fur, a few more scales, but nothing different. For those of you that have seen Orsissus before, his scales do look different. They do have that bronze color, but they're darker. It seems time or whatever has changed the look of the scales. Kalvyn, they look a little more familiar to you since you've seen them. But yeah, you uncover nothing further.
I'm just kind of, after dropping Kalvyn off, did we already was that what was under the rocks? Just more bits?
Yeah, she looked under the rocks and found more of the same thing you found.
I'll, go towards the lip of the cave and just, look back with my 800 eyes expectantly.
After you, Vesper.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go.
Do you reverse shuttle them, essentially?
Yeah, and I'll just run up this time. Not taking any time.
So you quickly shuttled them up the 100 feet, dropping one off, going down, getting the other. Eventually all of you are back up at the top of the cliff.
I'll regale the others with what we found.
I'll have to turn back into me.
I don't know if that answers any questions.
Not really. Maybe he was transforming and they get the fur. I don't know.
What are these smaller scales?
That's my question. Do any of us have a way to identify who these might be from? If they're from a dragon?
Do they remind me at all of the cobra that we fought?
Just glancing at them, they look more like that. Yeah, they look more serpentine than dragon.
Oh, the Valgrith's tail was a serpent.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
That's right. Well,
That's where they're from.
Does that mean we should be watching out for poison from this creature?
Yes.
yeah, remember what happened to Melly?
Yep.
I may be able to protect a couple of us. I can only do a few.
Whoever's going up closest.
Well, why don't we find a place away from here to go camp? I've been thinking. Do you think if we somehow put up a signal that your dragon might come?
Maybe.
Kalvyn used to talk to Orsissus every so often. But if I remember correctly, and I turned to Kalvyn, all you really did was just drop a rock off the cliff in front of where his lair is.
DM, did I ever do anything different, establish any kind of something or another to get a hold of Orsissus?
No, that would probably serve its purpose over the years. For you contacting him, go to the cliff and you drop something off, he'd notice it, come back up. And sometimes it would just come near to you. You'd see a hero swoop by the farm or near the tower, and it would contact you that way. But seldom. But yeah, that's all you. There wasn't any extra plan or signal.
Kalvyn nods a little bit and looks back at the crew and says, "Yeah, yep. That's the only way that I contacted him, was throwing a rock in the."
Why don't we go to get set up? I'll try and talk to my friend, and hopefully she'll know something.
Sure.
If we're likely to head back up north again, looking for the Valgrith, do we want to walk a bit that way before we set up camp?
Yeah, we've got plenty of time.
City all head north and find a camp. Is that what I heard?
Okay. Do you want to maybe set up camp near the cliff in case our friend decides to come back for whatever reason?
That's true.
Maybe just at the forest line.
Yeah, there's a tree line not too far from the cliff. Y'all could set up just inside of it, a bit to the north.
This is clearly in its hunting area, so as good a spot as any.
So you'll head north a little bit, heading into the tree line, to where you're fairly close to the cliffs, but a little further north, and find a place tucked in the tree lines. The pines kind of goes from no trees at all to, as soon as you hit the tree line, it's thick with underbrush, pines, bushes, vines, and the lot. Take a minute to kind of set up camp. You still have a few hours of daylight ahead of you. What do you do next?
I'm gonna go take a walk and try and find someplace quiet.
Sure.
And I will go off into the woods.
Maybe before you go, Bál, I'll ask, do you want to go alone?
Yes, it's easier for me to focus. I'll be alright.
Don't go far.
Of course not, my dear. And I'll go find a quiet little nook.
Okay. So you kind of exit away from the camp that's been set up, kind of wander into the pines a little bit, and you try to mimic what happens before we hear. You try to almost get lost in the woods, sort of walking without paying attention to direction and just being in the forest. You notice the texture of the trees, the types of vines. You see the types of underbrush and the texture of the pine cones, the sap that's beginning to fall out and draw out of the wounds in some of the trees. And you find a quiet spot, a still spot, but not a quiet from the sounds of the sea. You can kind of just hear the birds every now and then chirping. You can hear the wind rustling through the boughs of the trees. You see a bush ahead of you, and it kind of swerves to the side. You see the leaves flowing from the wind, catching upon something in midair, and the leaf just stops. And then another one, and another one, and then another one. And eventually the leaves are being pushed by the wind against something that you can't quite see, but eventually there's enough of them that a silhouette begins to form. And as you kind of stand up to focus on this, the leaves all change color, going from green and browns to stark white. They merge together and you see the form of Othlot before you. Slender, white skin. You see large eyes, black horns that kind of curl around with her hair, sort of a light blonde silver that kind of goes back. She looks at you. She steps forward with the grace of a doe, quiet, nimble, but fast, and moves up to you.
Hello, Othlot.
Why do you seek me?
I have been delayed from pursuing the task that you have set me on, waiting for a ship. And in this time, I have become aware of a creature that is corrupting the beasts in this area. Something called a Valgrith. Do you know of it?
I've heard of no such creature. Is it here? Is it important? Is it really important?
I believe that anything that is corrupting nature's splendor is important and should be destroyed.
Make a persuasion check.
22.
Well, let us see if there is such a creature as you say. And she kind of gracefully moves forward and lowers herself, cross-legged upon the ground, and takes your hands. She closes her eyes and you do the same. You can just hear the nature around you. But in touching her, you feel connected to it, as if you yourself, your soul or your being is part of the wind that you breathe. Your sight is the sky. The wind that blows through your hair or the boughs of the tree, you can feel it all connected. And you push your sight out, or she pushes it out. To the east, towards the sea, you feel it heavy upon your side. Like a great force of pressure pushing. You can feel endless expanse to the west. She turns your vision towards the north. And as you do, you feel this pulsing pressure like a migraine behind your eyes. And you see color, red, green. And she lets go of your hands and you're back in the clearing once more. Abomination upon these plants. You're right. She almost looks surprised and she doesn't show much emotion. Her eyes are darting back and forth as if she's searching for meaning what this is. And then they become still and fix upon yours. A test. And she kind of glances her eyes to the forest and sky around you. It is sent you a test. Your first of many, I'm sure. This creature, you're right, cannot stand to live. It itself is a corruption, and it corrupts the creatures around it, the nature around it, fouling it. must be fixed.
I agree.
She helps you up to your feet. And she kind of turns around and comes behind you, so with her hands on her shoulders. And she's tallish. She's probably 6.5 feet tall, very tall and slender, and kind of grabs your shoulders and turns them so that you're facing to the north. And as her hands are on your shoulders, you can kind of still feel that pulse. More faintly now, which she's not in focus. To the north. That is where it is.
So we go north. Is there anything else you can tell me? Prepare me. What it might do, the people I'm with, the legends say whoever kills it becomes it. Lest they eat its heart? Can you lend any insight?
She kind of mumbles to herself a curse and then looks back at you. Not unfamiliar. They've tried things like this before. Though it's been some time. It's true. This creature's curse. It spreads it. And its heart is the source. It must be ripped out of its chest. And the killer must consume it. You're right. They must be strong of faith to withstand what comes next. They could survive. Otherwise, the curse remains, spread to the next.
I understand. I thank you for coming and for helping me. I know I have to get back to the task I was set upon previously very soon.
Yes, this is a test for you. Your first and last. Don't fuck it up.
Oh, how I've missed you.
This curse is created by the ore paths far below. Besides the vile Duma, they are one of the most proficient in these curses. Don't take it lightly.
Oh, you know I don't take anything lightly.
Her solid black eyes try to roll, if you could notice them. He's swift. And as she says swift, there's a sudden rush of air by your ear and your hair, and it flies back as she transposes into wind itself, disappearing from your sight.
Do I still have any sense of that pulse? The direction?
You can look in the direction northeast, and you can feel it. It's like every time you point in that direction, you suddenly have a migraine. And you can use that as a very painful compass.
Wonderful. I'll go back to the group.
All right. A few minutes, maybe half an hour, go by, and Ezekiel returns.
Well, I have a blinding headache, but she has helped us somewhat. The headache will lead me to wherever this creature is. And she did confirm, Kalvyn, that we have to eat its heart. She said only those strong in faith will be able to survive what comes next.
I take a step back.
I look at Bál and Kalvyn.
What kind of faith?
She likes being obscure. You know as much as I do. She did mention something called the Ordroths that seems to be behind this creature's corruption. Not a word I've heard before, but could be something to look into later.
When he mentions Ordroths, can I roll a history check?
You could try a religion if you're trained.
Or religion.
And I was just going to ask if I could do a religion check.
I'm not trained in religion.
I'll say religion can roll religion, or take 10. If history, you can roll with disadvantage.
That's a 19 on my religion check.
That's a 19 on my disadvantage history.
Okay. So both of you, either from story or through study, have only heard this term maybe once before. It's associated with fiends. For another phrase that comes to mind is creatures of the deep. Those who guard the gates to the abyss.
I relay this.
Well, that sounds friendly.
Not really.
That's sarcasm, Vesper.
Oh.
Well, we know what we face, and we know how to find it. Get some sleep, and go for a hunt tomorrow?
Can you tell how far away it is?
Just direction, I think. I need to not look over there.
So it's probably this time, it's maybe 6, maybe 7 p.m. You're still maybe an hour before. No, actually, with the time of year, yeah, the sun's probably setting right about now-ish. Are y'all preparing to take a long rest? And is that y'all's plan?
I'm gonna, as we're all kind of settling down, I'm gonna go for a bit of a walk myself, not too far from camp, still within eyesight. And I want to sit down, kind of take off my holy symbol and put it in my hands. Gosh, I wasn't prepared to do this week. And kind of start my usual routine prayers. And then, am I on the right path? Is this what I'm meant to be doing? This Valgrith thing right now, but all of this pilgrimage that I'm tracking everyone on. I look down at the holy symbol, and is this right for me? Or have I just been so busy following what I thought I was supposed to do that I'm not really seeing what I'm meant to do? Am I yours? Am I meant to follow you? Am I meant to do this?
Give me a straight wisdom check.
Okay. Which I don't want to use. I'm really nervous. It's a 7.
You're struck by lightning and dead.
Oh no!
You pray and you call out. Getting the immediate response is quiet.
I'll finish my usual prayers and put my symbol back on and go back to the group.
All right. So y'all take watches, or?
Calvin's gonna take the last watch.
Okay. Whoever the first 2 are, if y'all are doing it in pairs, just go ahead and give me the roll.
I'll watch with Anson first.
Sure.
You can do the roll because you can see.
Okay. Advantage?
So I've finally figured out how I want to do vision and perception checks. Straight roll. Easy.
Okay. This will die. You betrayed me. 4.
Okay. Quiet night. There's just the sounds of nature. Birds, the sea is mainly what you hear. That's pretty much it. Otherwise quiet.
I'm gonna quickly ask, Vesper, do you have any plans for this Valgrith fight?
Keep all of us alive.
Fair enough.
What I usually do, or try to do. I'm not gonna fuck it up this time.
Fair enough.
Do you have any plans?
Convince it that it doesn't want to fight us.
That's not a terrible idea.
In a non-serious way, I'm thinking that if we can, psych it out or something, get inside of its head, maybe it'll just, I don't know, refuse to do anything and we just beat it. That'd be lovely.
Talk it into a dance off or something.
Yeah.
If anyone can talk a Valgrith out of a fight, it's you.
Oh, thank you. If anyone can keep us alive, it's you.
Alright, next 1 or 2, or however you are doing it.
I'll take second. Anybody want to join me?
I'll hop on with Ellory. I'll roll.
Straight roll for you.
25.
Okay. Y'all take your watch for the first hour and a half, pretty quiet, besides just the sounds of nature. Ezekiel, as you're watching, you see some movement in the branches. Looking up, you see something jump to the other side, something small, about the size of a football. It kind of climbs down, and you see a gray-furred squirrel, fox squirrel, which are large, like the size of a small cat, and has a black face. The guy looks up at you. You've seen this one before.
Ah, well. Hello there, little friend.
It kind of squeaks, and at this point it's close enough to where Ellory can see it, as it hops in if you have a small fire. Close enough to see.
Ezekiel, what's going on here?
I'm not sure yet. Don't think I necessarily have to do this, but I will cast Speak with Animals.
Okay. So it comes up to you, and Ellory, you hear the kind of the squeaking of a little squirrel. But this is a fairly large one. Ezekiel, you hear, "Hello! Good to see you again. It's been some time." And Ellery, you do see it kind of stands up unnaturally for a squirrel. And it kind of gestures with its paw.
Yes, my dear friend, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful as always. I hear you're charging headlong to trouble.
Well, always. You know me.
I heard a secret if you'd like to hear it.
Absolutely.
I know our mutual friend, Offlight, doesn't like helping you for some reason. Well, I thought I might warn you about what you're running into.
Any insight you have would be appreciated.
I cracked a few nuts, and it smiles at you and gives a weird squirrel wink. And I found out that it's loud. Very loud. Don't get too close to it.
Understood. Anything else?
Well, and he holds his hand out. I'm hungry.
I will find some kind of food to feed him.
Okay, like a ration or a good berry, a pine cone?
I don't have good berries today, but I will give him some rations. I'm afraid I wasn't planning on seeing you. I do try and keep presence around, but you caught me a little off guard.
He takes it. This will earn you one more. The tail's nasty. Stay away from it. It's incredibly poisonous.
Noted.
Anyway, your friends are interesting looking, but I have to get going. Lots of kingdoms to rule, people to check in on.
Of course, Stormbringer, you have a wonderful day.
You too. And he snaps his finger and points, and you hear a thunder and lightning in the sky as he hops off. Back into the woods.
What the fuck was that?
A friend from back home. One of the druids thought it would be funny to awaken a tribe of squirrels. Stormbringer likes to think he is the king of everything, but he has his uses.
You certainly have some interesting friends.
I just look around the campsite. Uh-huh.
All right, point taken.
And with that, I guess I'll relay the information to her about what he told me to stay away from the tail, and it's very loud.
Loud? That's interesting. I knew about tail. It struck a friend of ours with that.
Well, good to keep in mind. I can protect a couple of us. There's also, I don't know how well it'll work. I imagine the creature is quite strong, but I might be able to keep it on the ground.
That would definitely help.
I'll see what I can do. I can at least probably spare protecting someone from poison, whoever that we think is going to get the closest.
Probably Bál or Kalvyn.
Alright, well, I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Huh. I wish I had your optimism.
Well, doesn't always go my way. I'm going to try not to lose more friends this month.
It's good to have you with us anyway.
I'm glad to be here. I'm enjoying getting to know your little ragtag bunch. I think it's going to be a very enjoyable boat ride.
Well, let's hope.
Anyway, seems about time to wake up the next gather people. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
You need to get some sleep. So do I.
Clearly.
Okay, so you'll wake up the next crew.
Kalvyn and Bál.
Kalvyn and Bál, go ahead and... If Kalvyn is rolling straight roll, if Bál is rolling disadvantage.
That's another 19 for Kalvyn.
Okay. So as y'all are resting, goes by pretty quietly for a couple hours. Towards the end of your watch, Kalvyn, you notice strangely that it gets very quiet. You don't hear any of the creatures anymore. Even the wind seems to die down. You don't see anything, but it gets very quiet. As your watch kind of comes to an end, you're kind of uneasy about this.
We should stay on guard. This is the kind of feel in a horror movie when the monster shows up. But, don't worry about it. It's one of Anson's things. Listen, before the comes up, as the sky starts to lighten up, I'm going to take a weary look around at the query, silentness of the area, and kind of hitch up my pants and kind of nod towards Bál, give it him a knowing look, and then kind of start walking a few feet, maybe a couple minutes away from the campsite.
Okay.
All right. I think I'll try to get into more of a stealthy mode and just keep my ears peeled, and specifically in Kalvyn's direction.
Okay. Stealth and perception at disadvantage as Kalvyn walks away from the camp a bit.
So that's a 12 stealth and 6 perception.
Okay, so you try as best you can. Kalvyn, you get away from the camp a little bit.
Okay, it won't take me too long, maybe about 20 minutes, and then as the sun comes up, maybe 5 minutes after the sun has risen, then to come on back.
Did you do anything in particular while you were away from camp?
Yes, I did, but we don't have to get into it unless it is discussed. If you want, I can private message.
Oh, all right, okay. All right. Well, Kalvyn comes back a little bit later, looking vacated, as the rest of you wake up in the morning. What do you do next?
Shall we follow my throbbing headache?
It's the best compass you've got right now.
Wonderful. I will painfully lead us in the right direction.
Okay. All right. So, heading north, you're in the tree line for a little while, for a couple hours. Eventually, you kind of come out of it, and you see the hill that goes down off of the high cliffs, down towards where you saw the lighthouse before. Following the pane, you can start to see the cliff kind of rise up again and then come out over the ocean. You notice the pain is most severe now that you're a few hours closer to the top of the sort of column of rock that rises out of the ocean that forms a almost bridge over it.
I think that's where we're going.
As you... Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, if we walked there, roughly how far or long would that take?
Okay. So it took probably a few hours to get back to where you were. And judging from the lighthouse to there, you're guessing another maybe 6 hours or so.
All right. We got a long trek. Everyone have some snacks? And I will continue leading.
Okay.
Is there anything we want to do to prepare when we get close?
I have a spell I want to cast on some of us, whoever might be... Well, I don't know if it's the ones that are closer or the ones that are more easily hit. But I can bolster some of us with toughness and resolve.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that anyone who has protective magics that last a while, we would probably want to cast those when we get closer.
Yeah, that was my plan.
I can spare 2 protections from poison, I think. It only leaves me with 1 to try and ground it, but... Well, I guess that's the question. Should I save more spells to try and pin the beast to the ground, or protect us from poison.
I, too, can offer 2 protection from poison. And I don't really do much with my spells, so you should hold on to yours.
Sounds good. We don't have anything that makes it more receptive to magic or potentially bad at strength saves. I have no way of doing that in character.
I can blind it.
What do you think of me trying to put it to sleep if it gets to the point where it looks like it's about to go? Then we can have control over who takes the final blow.
Sounds
That's
good.
a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad
Last
idea.
thing you want is for it to be one of us that,
I think whoever kills it has to do the chow down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Kalvyn has already volunteered. I could probably go through with it. I am comfortable in my own faith. Ball?
With aliens, buddies, I'm prepared to do what I must.
All right.
3 candidates sounds pretty good.
Well, let's keep moving. We'll see when the pain gets overwhelming.
And so, as y'all are having this discussion walking along, the pain it doesn't seem to worsen as you get closer. You can kind of notice the pulse more, but the pain is just consistently bad when you look in that direction. But as y'all move over the next couple hours, you begin to come back up. The altitude along the coast begins to raise again as you're entering onto the plateau. As you do get closer, you start to notice remnants of architecture. You can see what's left of a low wall, only maybe 3 feet here and there, stones that have been carved. Moving up the hill further, you can see where there are entrances that have been carved into the side of the plateau, the rock. Simple block rectangular entrances. No large windows, just it looks like arrow slits built into the walls to the left. As you move up a little bit further, you can see the remnants of a larger wall. It was maybe 40 feet high. Looks like half of it is collapsed over. You can see where there might have been a gate or an entrance of some sort. But half of it's been collapsed. It's clearly overgrown with vines and hasn't seen much use or movement. A few trees have kind of burst out with grass covering what used to be cobblestone. Moving through these gates, you can see bones littered along the streets of all sizes, large, small, medium. Continuing on, a few more minutes pass, and you can see there are bodies. You see the bodies of a wolf and what looks like maybe what used to be a boar. The horns dark, elongated, the fur matted. Looks like the remnants of 2 Valgrith, clawed apart.
At this point, I'm going to cast Aid on Kalvyn, Bál, and Amson. So 5 hit points for the next 8 hours.
Can I tell how large the creature was that attacked the Valgrith?
Yeah, you can make a medicine check or a nature check.
Not trained in medicine, but it's better. 13.
Looking at it, large. Definitely bigger than these wolves themselves. Claw marks are probably a foot in total width. You can see punctures on the shoulders, and whatever mouth is large enough to reach across the broad shoulders of these large wolf and boar.
Is it possible your dragon friend's still out there?
Judging by this, yeah. It looks like Orsissus is doing. The question still remains, though, is Orsissus and the Valgrith still the same creature? Or now the same creature?
I wouldn't think so if he's still killing the Valgrith.
Probably. It's hopeful.
Unless there's some kind of conflict during the transmutation, but that could also be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Someone want to hack off these horns?
Yes, please.
How many was that?
2. It does take, a solid maybe 10, 15 minutes. You'll do it pretty quick between if you'll have some help. Moving on after collecting those, chopping off the heads, collecting them. Moving forward, you notice along the walls there is old, rusty iron or some sort of metal shackles that have been bolted into the crumbling ruined walls. You can see a few bones kind of littering the entirety of the wall. These bones look older. The pieces aren't as intact. They've been crushed or destroyed partially over time.
Any of you know what this place is?
It's probably the kingdom of the king that became the Valgrith.
I see. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Continuing on past that, you move forward into what looks like what used to be the center of whatever city this was. Kind of like the town square. You can see a few buildings caved in along the outskirts of this kind of town center. And you notice a couple things. You notice there is a pit not too far in front of you, kind of at the edge of the town square. That's about 15 feet in diameter and looks fairly deep from where you are. Past that, you see a large statue of a humanoid figure holding a sword pointed down towards his feet. It looks like he's standing on something from this distance. And you notice a couple more bodies at the base of the statue.
Can we tell anything about, I guess, does this look like a kingly statue?
Yeah, getting closer, you can see it does appear to be a statue of a human, kingly in nature, long flowing hair, a big crown upon his head, wearing armor and a cloak, cape kind of flowing out behind him, holding a sword down. Looks like a picture of another humanoid with fear upon their face, and he's holding the sword to their throat.
I don't like this place.
Is this the Betrayer King?
Certainly looks like the Betrayer King.
Maybe yours told me that.
Quite possibly.
And maybe I'll kind of flex my ears and try to listen extra closely.
Okay, roll a perception check.
So, fun fact, you're not supposed to flex your ears, so that's a natural 1.
Okay. You don't notice anything more, but all of you do notice upon the statue, carved into the chest of the armor piece, this is a stone statue, is a symbol. Looks vaguely like a heart, but with sharp angles and the letter M within it. You can see at the base there is a section carved into it, a plaque of some sort that says Lord King Morthom.
I believe that's the one.
Is there anything visible in the pit?
Give me a perception check.
17.
Looking down, it's not a super deep pit. It's maybe 15, 20 feet down. Looks like there's what remains of bones down there. You see what looks like the glint of metal, as if there may have been shackles or something down there.
I pull away from the edge. Yeah, I really don't like this place.
I'm kind of put an arm around Ellery.
And I'll look to Ezekiel and say, are we heading the right way?
I believe so. It's starting to hurt in a larger direction, so I feel like we're getting closer.
And it does feel like that as you kind of are turning, you can see what's left of the city kind of moves up further up a hill. You can hear the ocean louder now, as if you're starting to creep over on this cliff that extends over the coastline. As you're moving past out of the city square, actually, before y'all leave, by the statues, there are 3 bodies. 2 Valrin. It's hard to tell now whether they're wolves or boar or what they were before. Could have been a deer. There's 2 Valrin, corrupted creatures of some sort, and then there's 1 large corrupted creature. All 3 of them have bite marks and claw marks. 2 of them have singed marks upon their bodies. The large one looks like it might have been a massive bear, maybe, or some sort of other corrupted large creature. It has a necklace around its neck.
Can I want to look at the necklace, but I also want to see how recently these have been killed.
Okay. Medicine check to see how recently it's been killed.
Garbage. 13.
Hard to tell. It's like the blood. It could have been a few days ago. It could have been a week.
And then I want to take the necklace and see what that is.
Okay. Looking at the necklace, you can see it's a chain of gold. Looks like it's been splattered with blood. And on the end, you see the similar heart symbol with a big M on the inside. As you touch it, you get an uneasy feeling about it. The inscription on the back says, Champion of Morthon. It's in a weird, it's like common, but it's sort of like ye old common, sort of an old tongue, but it's the roots of common.
I'll show it to Anson.
This is interesting. It said Champion of Morthon.
Yep.
Does that title ring any bells for me?
You could make a history check at disadvantage, but nothing immediately.
No, that's a 7.
Yeah, I mean, you're guessing maybe a knight of some sort. I mean, you don't really know.
It's got a weird vibe coming off of it. I don't think any of us should wear it, certainly.
I'll pocket it for now, and I guess before we head out, we could probably get Melly to take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, pushing forward at the edge of this sort of town square before you head up the hill, it looks like there's sort of a second protective wall. But before you move through that, it looks like there's a forge that's partially collapsed to the side. As you walk by, you see piles of metal goods that have all been smelted together. Looking at the metals, it's hard to tell from where they are, but smelted together metals of some sort.
Similar to what we saw in the cave?
Similar, but the ones in the cave were weapons, iron. These have a different glint to them, and they don't seem to be... There's some weapons, similar. But unless you get closer, that's kind of all you get.
How... We're getting up to that bridge thing that you talked about?
Yeah, you're kind of on the bridge, just kind of starting to go up.
Alright, so we will reach the top within an hour or so? I'm trying to judge this.
Yeah, so y'all have been traveling for a couple hours, and it looks like as you kind of entered the city, sundown was maybe an hour away. Walking through the city, seeing these, cutting the heads off, and now moving here, looks like sundown is probably going to set within maybe 30 minutes or so, 20, 30 minutes, something like that.
Then we make our way up to the top. Any preparations we want to do now?
How high? I mean, how long does it look like it would take to get up there?
10, 15 minutes.
And we're at the end of the road for sure.
Best I can tell.
Yeah. Who wants to... I mean, I would like to use it on myself as well, but who else intends to be up close and personal with this thing?
I'll cover myself. Maybe you get Ball?
Sounds good. And I'll cast protection from poison on both myself and Ball. And Ball, that will give you advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance to poison damage for an hour.
And I will give myself the same. And I will also give Ball Long Strider again. So that's plus 10 to your speed.
Okay. Do you'll continue on at this point, having done some prep?
Say a little prayer, and make our way up.
Okay. Casting these preparation spells, you move forth again through this sort of secondary wall. It looks like there was once some sort of, blanking on the word, but iron gate that closed shut. It looks like it's rusted. You see pieces of it on the ground. Of course, no longer in effect. Moving through, you see on the right and the left there are walls, parapets on top, with no entrances. You see a few arrow slits every now and then. It looks like this is a kill box, sort of final security before getting to the top of this once city. Into the walls on the right and left, as you move forward, you see murals carved into the side depicting a ruler standing upon a pile of bodies. You see a king with a crown with wings spread out behind them, leathery. You can see a king who looks like carved from the eyes are glowing streaks as if light is coming from. You can see a king holding another mural as you are continuing forward, holding a decapitated head and looking at it. And upon to the top of these murals, as you're moving through this outside hallway, you see titles above. You see Lord of Blades, Ruler of the Morthon Cliffs, High Saint among us, King of War and Blood, Slayer of the Betrayers, kind of written above these various murals as you move forward. As you get to the other side, you can see a place where another gate was once there but has been destroyed long ago, stepping over the rubble. You enter into what looks like the final sort of courtyard, what used to be maybe a palace of some sort. Looking forward, there's walls kind of that just go to the edge. You're standing on a cliff. There, to the right and left of your view, you can see the edges of the cliff. Looks like there's once low walls, some of them crumbled, or just goes off the cliff. You can see the ocean stretching forward as you can see the sun sinking behind you. And in front of you, you see a larger building, high ceilings, high steeple, and towards the back of this building, away from you, away from the entrance, you see a large tower built up. Something that resembles the lighthouse you saw earlier on your way here. The doors have been smashed open. You see the bodies of 4 Valrin kind of in this courtyard. As you can look further past, and the pulsing is strong now, Ezekiel, as you look into this temple.
Oh boy. I don't know, do we go inside or just scream until something comes out?
Is there a ceiling, like a roof on this thing, or is it crumbled by now?
Looks like there's still a ceiling.
I say we go in, so it can't quite fly away.
That'd be helpful. Alright, I suppose I can head in first.
I'll be right behind, if not right beside.
I would happily have you at my side, Kalvyn.
So as you are kind of moving forward through the doorway where there is no door anymore, you see a room to the left and the right, where it appears there was a room to the left of some sort, and to the right you see a staircase that leads up. Continuing forth, looking forward, you see a elongated room. You can see columns on each side, several of them. 5 columns on each side leading down this elongated room. You can see banners that are hanging from the ceiling on both sides. Faded old, there's only a few hanging left. You can see unlit sconces and the remains of a rug laid out across from the beginning of this room to the end. You can see piles of bone and piles of meat rotting. At the end of the room, you can see it raises, sort of on a stage at the end. There are windows along each side, most of them broken at this point. There's a few shards of them remaining that catch the sunlight, where it looks like they were stained glass. And the stage on the end of the room, behind it, there is a large stained glass window of oranges and reds and yellows, where the light from the fading sun kind of pours through it, enshrouding the room in sort of an orange and yellow and red light. Upon this stage, it looks like there's an altar of some sort, and built upon it looks like a throne of some sort has been placed upon it at the end. Besides the pile of bones, you notice one other large thing, a large body you see of a creature on its side, blood pooled out, spreading into the room, covering a good third of it. You can see a long tail. You can see horns. You can see matted black fur, body scarred from claws. And you can see a black mane of dreadlocked fur and a long beard for this creature as it's laid on the side. The leathery wings kind of tossed asunder and clawed. The body's unmoving.
Can I take a second and see if it's breathing?
Yeah, y'all pause for a second. It's not moving.
Shit.
Can I throw a rock at it?
Sure, there's plenty of rubble and stuff. You pick down, throw one. Kind of hits into it with a soft thud. Unmoving.
If Orsissus took it down, maybe the transformation isn't finished and we can feed him the heart?
I hope so. I'm going to run over and see if the heart is intact, if the chest is intact.
Okay. And as y'all begin to move forward to investigate this, we're going to take a 5-minute break and come back at 9:55.
Do we have to?
We have to. I have to go for that. I'll see you all at 9:55.
Okay.
Next time on Back to the Story.
As the kind of sun is shining through that window, giving it that orange and red glow and yellow, you see a silhouette of darkness that enshrouds it. The glass shatters, flying everywhere, as entering in this creature that smashes in. You can see scales warped, widened, black, formed along this creature, dark and gray. The face of a reptilian dragon, you can see black horns following the jawline forward. And then behind it, its tail kind of whips back and forth. I need all y'all to roll initiative.
For part 2 of this episode of Back to the Story, you can find it on Stitcher, or by following us at back2_the story on Twitter.